Hello, everybody. It's Brandy with Better Business Strategies here for another episode of Business Bites with Brandy. And today I have special guest Brittni Sennett, and she's an MBA. She has an MBA and is a financial planner who empowers high achieving women who feel overwhelmed, confused, and stressed out about their financial future. She helps them create a personal wealth plan that grows their money and provides financial security for generations to come. Brittni works with women across the United States and joins us here today from her home in South Philly. And let me just say our disclaimer, since you are a financial advisor, we need to remind our audience that any product or service that we discuss today is purely for educational purposes only and is not intended to be financial advice. It's just general recommendations. So please seek individual advice from a licensed advisor before acting on any products or services that you hear today. So welcome, Brittni. I'm really excited to have you here. We've met a couple times before and had some great conversations about women, small business, financial security, financial literacy, and I'm really excited to have you on the show today. So can you tell us a little bit about when you meet a business owner for the first time, what are some of the things that you focus on in those initial conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I meet with anybody for the first time, whether it's a business owner or someone that is just seeking personalized planning advice, we always start with foundational concepts within the financial plan, right? And so I find that one of the most common kind of financial concepts I talk about with my business owners is separating your personal finances from your business finances, right? And I see you shaking your head, Brandy. I'm sure you have this conversation all the time, but it should
Mm.
always be repeated, and we should always, be reminded that we need to be diligent business owners, right? And oftentimes, personal and business gets very intertwined, and we need to be really diligent.
Commingling.
Yeah,
Commingling is a
commingling.
bad word in the accounting world. Do not commingle your funds.
Right. And also, a lot of us are putting our own personal capital into our businesses, whether it's direct capital, right? That's like cash, or, obviously our time and investment of our energy. So much of ourselves is often being poured into our business. And we just need to make sure that we're being really good stewards of our money and being good record keepers. It's going to make your CPAs much happier or your bookkeepers much happier. It's also going to protect you from liability in the future. And frankly, it's going to calm yourself down on the personal side too if you can help keep those things separate. Because guess what? If your books are crazy on the business side, if there's commingling or kind of laissez-faire transferring of money between personal accounts and business accounts, you're probably feeling it at home too. And so while the exercise might not be the most fun, it's definitely going to reap a lot of long-term benefits in terms of just reducing your anxiety, giving you greater line of sight to how well your business is performing and what your personal income needs are, and probably even inform some changes you might need to make in your business. And again, it's going to protect you and your family and your business from a liability perspective. And generally, I just think help make everything run smoothly. So I'd say just one of the simple things I always just make sure my clients do, or I actually walk through with my clients, is their business bank accounts and their personal bank accounts. Do we have separate bank accounts set up for personal and for business? And how are we paying ourselves an income, whether it's weekly or biweekly or monthly? How are we saving for taxes within our accounts? What's our general overhead needs? How are we saving for overhead? Um, recurring annual fee subscriptions if you're in a business where you have licenses or things like that. Just kind of really just getting really intimate with our numbers and making sure that we have the right reserves and we really have the right accounting set up to support us, and really making that as easy as possible. Because I don't want you to have to crunch these numbers every payroll week or every time you're reconciling your books each quarter. I want you to kind of figure out and get intimate with your numbers and hopefully set up a system that's going to help you automatically save for a lot of those recurring things and keeps the system tight and separate, so that way we're protecting ourselves as much as possible. So I'm actually I'm always very surprised how many established business owners I meet that don't have these very clear accounts set up. And so, I think any business owner can take this advice. And this is probably a good reminder. If you haven't done some account cleanup, it is mid-year. It's probably a good time to check in on your accounts and just do some due diligence there and just make sure things are flowing as they should. QuickBooks is capturing things as it should if you use QuickBooks or another accounting software, and that everything is in good standing both for the business and the home accounts. So
Absolutely. And I'm with you on that too. I'm always surprised as well as how many business owners are commingling funds, or they don't have a perception of their personal finances being separate from business finances. And for all those reasons that you stated, your personal life has different needs, and you're going to apply different strategies, and you're going to have a different outlook for your personal life than you will have for your business. And it's a separate entity and should be treated as a separate entity. And you're not going to make the same decisions about maybe what kind of life insurance you have. That's a personal thing versus what kind of insurances you have for your business. And so separating those things in your mind, in your bank accounts, in your planning is very, very important. So I definitely agree. And it's mid-year. So many people are like, oh, it's the beginning of the year. Now I want to do cleanup. And this actually mid-year is a good time, because it gives us, with the accounting person, I like to have some historical data to look at what's going on. That helps me make better decisions about setting up systems for you, what might work for you in your business, and getting those kind of dialed in, cleaning up 6 months, and then going forward for the rest of the year, instead of trying to clean up a year's worth of stuff before we're prepping for taxes. Mid-year is a great time to do it. It's summer. If you're a business that has a little bit of a slump in the summer because people are going on vacation and you're not selling as many products or offering as many services, this is the perfect time to just pivot internally and clean up your systems, put some new systems in place, and get things sorted, and then finish out the year like a champ. So highly, definitely agree with you on that. So you and
Can
I
I add
both. Yes.
quick, a second one? So on top of cleaning up your accounts, I think knowing what you need to bring home each month to make your personal budget, is kind of read between the lines. I think you can infer this based on what we said, but knowing what you need to bring home and paying yourself a consistent income, throughout the weeks or the months. Obviously each quarter or something, maybe you have some kind of reconciliation where you're paying out some other bigger bonus or something to you as you close out the quarter, but really setting yourself up with a consistent income. I also know from a lot of business owners I work with, they have, like you just said, they have peak seasons and they have valleys, and we really want to make sure we're preparing ourselves for the slower seasons by kind of saving up some income that we can still make sure we pay ourselves with later. So we're not feeling like it's not feast or famine, right? We're not living like kings and queens when, we're in our busy season and then we're eating ramen when the season is slower. So that's another big thing that, again, creates a lot of stress that can be solved really easily by just knowing what your personal budget is and working with your accounting team or your bookkeeping team to determine a reasonable salary to pay yourself so that you can keep that personal income more consistent and hopefully cause less headaches.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. And especially for any of the LLCs out there, and you're thinking, or you've been told, hey, you need to be an S-Corp, understand that what you're paying yourselves, what that salary amount is, that's going to be a key indicator of whether or not you're ready to shift your LLC into an S-Corp. And so it is really important to understand your personal budget so that you can on get your salary range into your business budget and smooth out any of those peaks or valleys, overpayments, because having a consistent monthly salary is one of those important things for maintaining your S-Corp or shifting that LLC into an S-Corp. So if you're in that position, or you're not paying yourself a salary, you need to be paying yourself a salary, you want to go from the LLC into an S-Corp, highly recommend giving either one of us a call to talk about that before filling out the paperwork yourself, or just going with someone that says, hey, I can backdate your S-Corp so you can get X amount of dollars. That kind of quick fix can really kind of jam you up in the long run. So be careful about that kind of advice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you and I both like to work with women. I love working with nonprofits that are run by women and small business owners. We both really love to champion the female energy and female cause in the business world. And a lot more women are becoming business owners. And you and I have discussed previously that a lot of the business advice that's out in the world has been generated by men for male-run businesses. Women tend to approach running businesses differently. We tend to be very collaborative. We tend to be more family oriented. We tend to be more people first. And so we maybe need to think about running our business and our personal lives differently. So what should we be thinking about as women? What should we be thinking about when we're planning for ourselves and our business?
Mhm. I think when I speak with women and women business owners, and I think this is true whether it's on the business side or the personal side, but when it's the business side, I feel like it's amplified even more. First really gets back to the fact that, for a really long time, we haven't been allowed to sit at the tables where we get to talk about finance and money and owning our own business. It wasn't until I think it was 1974 that we were able to have our own credit cards. And then into the late 80s, I think it was 1985, where we were able to start a business without a male co-signer like our husband if we're in a, hetero relationship. And so I mean, I was born in 1986. So like literally, since I was born, these opportunities have been created for women. And I first just want to acknowledge the confidence and the just pure education and knowledge gap that we've been working very hard to overcome, to really be seen as equals in these spaces. Because men have been doing it for a couple hundred years before us. And so I just want to acknowledge that initially as like, that's real, that's truth, it's fact. We can't change that fact or truth, but now that we know that that's true, how can we empower ourselves to be more knowledgeable and take action and ownership over our own planning and our own business? So I think when I work with my female clients, there's again a couple things that are just facts. Women are still working to earn as equally as their male counterparts. Now, as business owners, I think a little bit more that I don't want to say it gets in the way of that, but women, I think we tend to have to overcome some mindset there in terms of like, how are we pricing our services or our time to earn what we're really worth? Just maybe a whole other conversation for another time.
Right.
But we're still on average under earning our male counterparts. And then that whole issue is then multiplied by the fact that our wealth generation is significantly behind our male counterparts. And so, when I'm speaking with women and planning, there are a couple of things that come up that could get in the way and impede us from earning our full potential. And first and foremost, that I talk to my clients about all the time is women are just more prone to disability and losing time from work or your business simply because we can have children and we're just, I think because we go to the doctors more, like we're just more prone to finding out things that are happening with our bodies, and that therefore taking time away from work. And so for my W-2 clients, right, they might have short-term disability or long-term disability in place through work. And a lot of the time, those coverages at work don't cover what a client really fully needs, because who's living on half their paycheck, like really, right? Like most people are using their full paycheck to either live or save for the future. But then where that issue is compounded even more in the business space is if you're the business owner, no one else is looking out for you to put those types of protections in place unless you put them in place. Now, there's some with short-term disability state mandated. But outside of that, it's upon you to put those types of protections in place. And so that's just something to educate yourself on. You can put that protection in place for yourself as a business owner. If you have certain overhead that you need to make sure is protected, there's also insurance that you can put in place for that. And you as the business owner could have separate policies than like your workforce, because it's also a benefit that would, if you employ a lot of women, could be a really helpful benefit to your workforce, both short-term disability and long-term disability, just to make sure your workers' financial security is also protected. And, you know, as business owners, we're always looking for ways to get an edge on competition with our employees, right? And so yeah, first and foremost, we need to be in the workforce as long as we want to be, to earn our fullest potential, so that we can close this gap, right? And we can start out earning, hopefully, well, first we got to meet pace and then out earn our male counterparts, but also just close the wealth gap. And the best way we're going to be able to do that right now is staying either in our businesses or in our jobs and earning our full paychecks. So that first piece of protection is so important. I think the fact that just being humans that bear children means that we're predisposed to more risk than our traditional male non-childbearing humans are exposed to.
Absolutely. Well, and we're more likely to take time off or to need to take time off to be a caretaker for our own children, or even for aging parents. And so that's something else that women may not think of, having some type of protection in the way so that they can do that, but that's important as well.
Yeah, you actually bring up like the other, like that's another key topic I talk to my employee or my clients about. And sometimes first of all, the coverage you can put into place to help assist with caregiving is called long-term care insurance, right? And it's insurance that is on the person that might need long-term care, and it provides capital to help pay for those types of expenses, whether it's medical expenses or having a nurse come to the home. And what I tell a lot of my female clients is, this protection obviously is to protect maybe your parents. It's important, but really what it's doing is it's also protecting your time, your energy, your emotional and mental well-being, and your financial well-being. I heard New York Times just put out a podcast about a month or so ago, just talking about kind of this new challenge that a lot of millennials and Gen Xers are experiencing as their parents age, as the boomers age. How many of us are having to care for our parents? And like you said, women are predominantly the ones expected to, especially if we're the oldest child or obviously the only child.
Right.
Then the burden often falls on the women. And by the way, like you also said, we're also the ones that are usually taking time out because the kids are sick, or to take them to different, activities or for field days or whatever. So again, protecting our ability to stay employed or to stay in our business and focus on ourselves and our financial future. If you want to take care of your parent, let that be on your terms, right? But the protection on the long-term care is often more about the caregivers. It's also about the people it's protecting that are receiving the care, but it's often even more about the caregivers and making sure that they're protected as well. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Well, absolutely. And I brought that up, from my own experience, some years, it's been about 5 or 6 years, but for years, and because I was the oldest daughter and the oldest granddaughter, I was the one that was checking in and taking care of my mother and my grandmother. Plus I was raising teenage boys. I was finishing my master's degree, was working full time. I had a huge client and a bunch of little clients. And I look back at that time now, and I honestly do not know how I juggled everything. Right. And so, yes, so important, just so important to think about putting things in place to bridge the gap, to make your life easier as a caretaker, to make sure that if you are the breadwinner if you are the breadwinner in your family, or even if you're not the breadwinner, but your family depends on your income, uh, having something in place to help take care of the sandwich that you're going to be in when you have aging parents and you still have kids at home, and protecting yourself in case anything happens so that you still have that income coming in as well. And a lot of times we don't think about
Pay the
this, but
bill.
yeah, pay the
Yeah,
bills.
business. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if you're a key revenue generator for your business and say you employ a lot of staff members to deliver work for clients, if you couldn't sell, you still might have work that still needs to get done and still might have to pay overhead expenses, pay payroll, things like that. Like that's where you not being able to work could almost be like a double-edged sword, not only for the personal, but also for the longevity of the business. So that's where it's even more important and more strategic of a conversation, because it really could impact both ends. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, something else about being a woman business owner is that you tend to take on more responsibility. And so if something happens to you, that's even more pieces of the puzzle that can kind of fall down. And so it really, really important, to talk to someone like Brittni about getting all of those safety nets in place for yourself and for the people that you love, and having that be part of your long-term strategy for
Mhm.
sustainable kind of long-term taking care of yourself and everyone else around you. So
Mhm.
yeah, really important. And speaking of juggling a lot of things, we're going to talk about the holistic part of being a business owner, and this is the kind of human aspect that's so important, because if we don't show up for our business, then our business can literally stop happening without us. So I always ask my guest, what is one better life strategy that they can share with us that they use in their own life for creating work-life balance, for maintaining their passion, and being able to show up for their business and their clients on a regular basis. Do you have
Mhm.
a better life strategy for us today, Brittni?
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, because when I used to hear this, I used to like laugh at people. But one of the things that I actually was tweaking mine today is keeping an ideal calendar, or at least creating what your ideal day looks like, what your ideal week looks like, what your ideal month looks like, and being disciplined enough to stick to it. So, I'm a financial advisor. I keep my own hours, and it can be very easy for me to be like, "Oh, I really want to talk to you. Of course, I can talk to you at 6 or 7 o'clock at night when my son is home, right? And I should be playing. That's mom time, right? That's
Right.
the business I need to be in at that time. Is mom time. And I think about it when you go to your dentist or your doctor. Your doctor's not sitting there going, "Hey, I think I could make 6:30 work on a Tuesday night. Actually, the practice closes at 5, but you're right. We should meet at 6:30." Like, doctors aren't saying that to you, right?
Right.
And so, I try to remind myself, or empower myself to hold boundaries on my time, because our time is our most precious resource. It's non-renewable. We get every breath we get is a gift, and we want to make sure that we're using our time, whether it's in our personal life or our business life, to progress things in the places we're trying to move them, and to make sure we're ending our day feeling like we lived a fulfilling day, whatever that definition might mean for you on that day. So I literally, from the time I wake up at 5 a.m. until the time I go to bed, usually I try to be in bed by 10:30, but it needs to be earlier than that with my 5 a.m. wake up. My day is kind of spelled out to the minute. Now that might be a little overkill for some people, but you can also schedule free time in your ideal day. It doesn't have to mean that you're doing stuff every minute, but you have intentional time set aside for whatever intentions you have throughout your day.
Yes, and that's the key, right? Setting your schedule with intention. And just like Brittni said, just because you are creating a schedule doesn't mean there's no free time. You schedule that downtime in. Maybe Fridays are the day that you catch up from the week, or maybe Wednesdays are the day that your kids have a half day at school. And so you volunteer in the morning and you spend Wednesday afternoon with your kids and you have a good solid bonding time with your children on that day. Maybe Monday mornings, things are a little bit slow because people getting back into the swing of things. And so that's a good time for you to go get a pedicure and a massage. And so you're starting your week out like feeling loved and fulfilled, and you can be much more present in your business. So I love that, setting your schedule with intention and having a schedule. A lot of times I work with brand new business owners, right? And they weren't always prepared for how quickly their business takes off, and they're winging it by the seat of their pants, and literally the business is running them. And I can see that's not going to be sustainable. That might last for maybe 6 months. It might actually make it a year before they're kind of burned out. But in that case, if you find that your business is running you, then time management is a conversation that we need to have so that you can take your life back and begin to run your business before your business runs you right into the ground. So yeah, be
Because
mindful
that's
about
why
that.
we started businesses, right? Is because we want to live a life probably a little bit differently than other people. And yeah, we're high achievers, I'm guessing, because who would start a business that isn't trying to accomplish something, right? We're like the crazy ones that set goals for ourselves and are self-motivated. And so, yeah, setting time aside, especially for self-care, I think is such a big thing. And I had shared over before we started the recording, Brandy, I'm doing 5:30 a.m. workouts over here on the East Coast. We have full sun. It's the sunniest time of the year. I can wake up with the sun. It's really nice. And that might not be your jam, which is totally fine. But I've really appreciated kind of having the peace and calm in the morning. I always like knowing when I wake up that I'm the only one awake. It's kind of a weird thing. And it's just nice to have that space and alone time before I'm giving myself to others, through the rest of the day. So hope that the ideal calendar or, setting out some time for yourself in the morning is helpful for those listening.
Yep, absolutely. Highly recommend having a power hour. That's what I call mine, a power hour first thing in the morning. That is some movement to get that blood going, get some oxygen to your brain so you can get revved up for the day. Maybe do some journaling or some meditation to get some calm or introspective for the day. And then again, setting your intentions. I love that you use that word, making your calendar intentionally, setting your day up with intention. When we have some idea of what we intend to do with our day and we can stick to that, we feel like we have purpose, that we're less frazzled because we kind of have a goal for the day. So yeah, highly recommend that morning power hour. And yes, it can be hard to get up at 5 or 5:30 to kind of scratch out that first quiet time during the day, but guarantee you it is highly, highly worth it. And once you get into the habit of it, you're going to love it. You're going to love it for sure. So, Brittni, how can people work with you? How do you recommend they get in touch with you? And who do you like to work with? Why don't you tell us a little bit about who your favorite client is and then how they can connect or contact with you?
So first of all, if you want to learn more about me, that's where my website is. My contact information is listed there, and I'm sure we'll be able to drop that link or something in the comments below. But my focus is on high achieving women. Usually, we're women that have big goals, and I would say probably from the outside, everyone thinks that we have all of life figured out. But really, the truth is that we have a lot of people helping us, live our life intentionally. And, so I'm one of those strategic partners for a lot of high achieving women. They could be in careers, W-2 jobs, but also in high performing businesses in growth mode. And I've especially been connecting with a lot of women in their 40s and 50s that are trying to just kind of clean some things up, get second opinions, and are really stepping into taking ownership of them and their family's financial future. I'd say my clients tend to be the breadwinners and tend to be my main contact, but I work with men, of course, too. A lot of my clients are married to men. I'm married to a man. I have a son. So this isn't just a woman's show, but I would say if you're a high achieving woman and you're feeling anxious about just not exactly, knowing what to do with your money and would love to partner with someone on building out a strategy, then we should have a conversation. So yeah, reach out to me on my website, or we can drop my contact information in the description, or whatever it's called on this platform, the show notes.
Yeah, wherever you find it, because you may be catching us on YouTube right now, and in that case you'll find the links and information down below the video. Or if you're listening to a podcast, then you can come whatever your streaming service you're listening on, just look and find, you'll find that information wherever you usually find information about this particular episode that you're watching. So look up and down all around this, wherever, however you access the show.
The comments, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the fun of multiple. We're podcasting, we're on YouTube. You might catch this on Facebook, who knows? But I guarantee you somewhere around there, you will find information on how to contact Brittni. And if you can't, I guarantee you can DM me, you can reply in the replies, whatever. I will get you in touch with her for sure. So Brittni, thank you so much. I always enjoy speaking with you. We always have a great time when we talk together. And I really loved having you on Business Bites with Brandy today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Y'all take care of each other. Be good to yourselves and be good to everyone else. And we'll see you again on the next episode. Bye-bye.